while, I definitely it was required that I had a day job while my seeds were being nourished and things, and then eventually they'd grow and I'd start to build some momentum. But
are you a reader at all?
no.
Okay.
Here, I love the idea of it.
How could you ask that?
No. That is outrageous.
No.
No, I'm just really bad at it.
You have trouble with the words. You just got to sound them out.
I know. These are just really hard, though. They're so long sometimes.
How do you feel about
so many
audiobooks?
syllables? Well, the thing is, I would be into audiobooks if I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think I'm. Well, one, I'm terrible with reading because I'm so like ADD in my brain that I'll be reading and I'll start to ghost read. I'll start. I'm like my eyes.
Your eyes are seeing the words, but you're not retaining any of the information.
Because I start thinking about something completely different, and then 3 or 4 pages later, I'm like, wait, what did I just read? I'm like, I got to go back, and this is stupid. And I don't want to do that. It's the worst thing. I feel like that's one of the most frustrating things in the world is having to redo something you just did. If you guys ever been playing Pokemon and the Game Boy battery dies, that's the worst. That is the worst. Like I got all the way to Cerulean City. You mean I have to go back now and restart? Nope. We're taking a break.
Yeah, no. Huh. I never really got in. I didn't get into Pokemon until my son got into Pokemon, and I started paying attention, and I was like, oh, this isn't too bad.
Well,
like, are we talking like you said Game Boy?
Yeah,
Eric, are you talking Pokemon Go?
Yeah, I only have Pokemon Go on my phone because my son has it on his tablet, and I want to be able to keep track of what he's doing because I don't trust. I don't know how it works, and if other people can get in touch with you via Pokemon Go, so I want to make sure that there aren't conversations happening that Daddy needs to be. Not that he could write back, because he doesn't quite know how to do that yet. He can write his name, but otherwise, So I just want to. That's the only reason I have it is to keep tabs on what he's doing. Okay. But we watched Detective Pikachu, and we sat down and watched another Pokemon cartoon or something, and I was like, oh, this isn't half bad. This whole time I'm like, look at these fucking nerds, and meanwhile it's actually very entertaining. Yeah. So don't judge a book by its cover.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
That's my own personal growth story for the week.
Well, the reason why I asked about reading, there's a book. The
Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, that.
I'm sorry.
No, the seven effective habits of successful people or something like that. Steve Covey, Sean Covey, whatever. I'll have to look it up.
I don't know. He's probably gonna be listening right now and be super offended that you totally messed up his name.
I hope he is listening, not that he's offended.
Please write into the show and express your offense so that we can talk to you.
Well, in the book, he's talking about this guy, the fable of the goose that lays the golden egg, and every morning this goose comes out, and there's a golden egg, and then he gets all.
Then his house gets destroyed by Jack, who climbed up a beanstalk.
Totally a different story. Then he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill this goose and take all of the eggs, and kills the goose, and there's no eggs in there, and he's like, well, I just fucked myself, basically. Obviously, those weren't the terms that he used, but
I don't know. That's pretty
for dramatic effect. I think it's appropriate.
Yeah,
sure.
And so
that's the Quentin Tarantino take on the book to movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're talking about planting seeds and the 6 months down the road reaping the benefits of what you're doing right now, it makes me think about how in today's society we're so driven by instant gratification, and how people like you that are doing the work now to reap the benefits later is something to be taught to people who aren't doing that kind of thing, to understand the benefits of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I know I'm very much so driven by instant gratification. I want something and I want it right now.
Oh, I think we all are. I am too. Yeah. I absolutely am too. And don't get me wrong. I'm not. when I say that, I'm not trying to say that I like, oh, this is like I'm just so disciplined that I'm planting my seeds and reap. No, I mean, I'm lucky because this is the one thing that I can enjoy the process of. Like that's all it is. Yeah. I mean, no matter what, like every great thing comes to you in time. Our instant gratification, it's never really satisfied most of the time, but at some point we all find that thing that we can love the process of. Like for example, I hate the gym. But if I saw instant results going there for a week, I could probably do it. Right? Yeah. Like, because I saw those instant results. But the reason I'm not a big gym person is because I don't like the process. I don't like going to the gym day in and day out. I need to see the reward. And I think that that's just most people. Most people need to be instantly gratified unless you find that thing that you can actually enjoy the process of working at. Right? Where whether you see return on it immediately or not, it doesn't matter to you because you enjoy doing it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And that's what I kept trying to explain to my ex-wife was that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Yeah. Like, right now I'm just at the time it was I'm just hosting here and there. And, I'm not making a lot of money yet, but somewhere down the road, all this hard work is going to pay off. And now, 6 years later, I'm a regular feature. I'm getting ready to, I've headlined a couple of times, not, nothing to write home about. But I'm also, I'm the assistant manager at the comedy club.
That is something to write home about to the kids that are only able to host every once in a while.
Right.
Well, sure, yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to come across as saying that, like, I'm headlining here and there, and
I'm just saying, like, it is something to write home about.
That's a really weird, that's a really interesting like concept that I feel like you guys are tapping into is this idea of like, what do we have permission to be proud of? You know what I mean? Okay. Like, because I feel like I get so. I get so like objective in my perspective of like where I'm at and what I'm doing. I'm afraid to be proud of something or to really
right because you don't want people to think that you're some big-headed piece of shit who's like, oh, I'm the hottest thing there is, and like
right.
No, basically nobody can mess with my stuff. I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. Like you don't
right.
want.
Well, there's something to be said about like having the confidence to own your own stuff that you can be proud of. Like you're gonna go into a brain surgeon and have a brain surgery. You don't want the brain surgeon to say, well, I'm good most of the time. You want the brain surgeon that says, I'll handle this shit. You know what I mean? Like, we'll cut that fucking tumor out and you're going to live.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think either one of us is saying that we don't feel that way in our individual, comedy pursuits or acting or whatever, because I'm sure, Austin, you wouldn't say, you wouldn't go to an audition or whatever if you didn't think you were going to nail it.
True.
You know what I mean? It's more a matter of, like, we know we're good, but we don't want you to know that we know how good we are. You know what I mean? If that
you
makes
have no
sense.
Control over what another person's going to think.
Well, exactly, because perspective is reality for a lot of the situations, but it's more of like for me anyway. It's more like I don't want people to think that I think I'm better than anybody or that I'm full of myself or because I've had over the last year or so I've had a little bit more success than I had previously. That all of a sudden now I think I'm too good for people or shit like that.
I think it's kind of like acknowledging the pendulum. Like that's ultimately what it is. Like I don't want to take too much credit for my accomplishments. I mean, and in some ways, I don't even know what accomplishments I can truly take credit for. But on the flip side, you're right. I still need to be confident enough. Otherwise, the accomplishments aren't even going to happen in the first place. So right. It's like. It's just I don't necessarily want to call it a struggle, but I think that it's important to just regularly keep yourself in check. I think that it also ties into, personal growth. Whoa, that's the name of the podcast.
Boom. Nailed
but
it.
no, it's because you can't really grow, you can't really improve on your craft if you don't have an accurate image of where you're at right now. If you're overconfident in what you're doing, then you're not as motivated to improve. But if you're underconfident, then now all of a sudden it's hard to get the motivation because, you're stepping into like, oh, it's not worth it. Like, oh, I'm not doing a good job.
You have to know your position to be able to change your condition.
Yeah. Did you read that in a book?
I didn't read it, but I heard it.
Oh, good job. I like it. I like it.
That's a Les Brown thing. If anybody likes personal growth, personal development material.
I would hope that they would if they're listening to this.
Have you made that an Instagram caption already?
I'm sure I have.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I can see that. I love your Instagram captions.
Thank you.
Yeah, but what you said makes perfect sense because it's, like John Mulaney, for example.
Don't know him.
Is
it a sports guy?
John Mulaney is a comedian.
Is he a NASCAR racer? Or?
Yes, and he moonlights as a NASCAR racer. No, but John Mulaney, he wrote for Saturday Night Live for a while, and it's only been over the last few years, I think, that he's really become a big splash in comedy. Not in terms of like that he wasn't always well known, but like now he's a little more famous.
I don't know. I feel like, at least for me, he kind of came out of nowhere.
Okay, and that maybe, but he had been working for years to come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's he'll put out a couple comedy special every couple of years, and it's new material, and it's every time it's fresh, and and there are some comics who do that, who subscribe to, the whole, if you're going to come out and see me, or I'm going to put out a special, I don't want you to see the same thing you've already seen. And then there's other comics who are like, whatever, I'm in Boise once a year for 4 nights. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I'm going to do the same material that I've been doing for the last 7, for the however long I've been coming to town. And I think, that speaks to, acknowledging where you are on the totem pole of like, he knows, certain comics know that like, because if you really look at it, if you think about it in terms of like, like Dane Cook was huge for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Louis C.K. was huge for a couple of years, and granted, he's done some things that have, knocked him down a few pegs, and rightfully so, but like, he was really big for like 3 or 4 years, and then it just kind of petered out. And it's the same thing with everybody, really, except for, like a Chris Rock or a Jerry Seinfeld who have reached, a different kind of status. Yeah. But I think, in order to stay fresh and stay relevant, you have to realize that you either are going to get better or you're going to stagnate, and then that's when people stop giving a shit. And when they stop giving a shit, then you don't get the Netflix money rolling in.
I feel like it depends on how big your spotlight is. I mean, because when you're talking about people that are in a national spotlight, then absolutely. I mean, it is prerequisite for your comedy career to stay fresh. If you're not constantly evolving and improving and giving new material, then audiences are going to get tired of you because everything that you do is constantly seen. But whereas other I feel like most of the comedians, at least now in my very limited experience, I should say, that I know of that have been doing like the same jokes for a very, very long time. The only reason they're doing that is because they don't have that spotlight, to kind of force them out of that behavior. Instead, I mean, they're getting consistent work, they're getting consistent bookings, or whatever the case is, off the same material. Then sweet. I mean, there's right. no like requirement.
Right. Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you, even if you didn't have if you were just making a living, right? If all you ever did was make a living as a comedian or an actor in like local productions or regional things, that if you never had that spotlight on you but you were still living comfortably doing what you wanted to do, would you be able to spend 20 years of your life on the road doing the same 45 minutes every single night, or would you feel like just for your own sanity, would you say, I gotta fucking write something new? I cannot keep talking about